Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Paperweight Entertainment Podcast, your home for all things Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and so much more. Join Derek and Ian as they tell tales to astonish along this journey into mystery. Grab some snacks and settle in because Paperweight Entertainment starts now. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Paperweight Entertainment Podcast. I am your co-host, Derek Hoskins, and with me, as always, tonight is my good friend and yours, the glue, the lovely, the talented Mr. Ian Torrance. Ian, how are you doing this evening, buddy?
Well,
that good, huh?
my knee hurts. It pops randomly when I go to extend it. My back hurts. I sneezed this morning and almost lost complete control of my legs. My shoulder has been hurting really bad. It hurts to move. Sometimes I lose feeling in it. Oh, you just meant like a quick, like, how I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. If it makes you feel any better, every time that I lean forward, there's a spot in my back that hurts so bad it feels like I'm being electrocuted.
So I didn't make up any of that. I did embellish a little, but I didn't make up the back part. I sneezed this morning and it almost crippled me.
Every time that I sneeze, I feel like my chest is going to explode.
Well, I've had like this, I wouldn't say cold, but like this allergic reaction to the weather changing around here or something. And I've been a lot more nasally.
That's just called middle-aged, man.
That's probably true too. And this nostril just keeps getting like really clogged and it gives me like that sinus headache.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like sitting there at work and for those of you that don't know, I answer phones all day. And I would get a phone call and I'd have to like hurry up and try to get up to the mute button so I can sneeze without being like, yeah, I can look at the back. So I try to be professional. But then like I'll be in the middle of saying something and it'll just cut off and I'll hear, hello. And I'm over here trying not to sneeze and I'm like, now I gotta make a decision.
Mm-hmm. I have a decision to make. It's a game time decision.
Almost. So for those of you wondering, well, I'm so sniffly tonight. That's why.
I'm so sniffly because I'm still coming down off of COVID. I had COVID last week and it was awful. It's the third time I've had it and it was the worst. But of course, if you clicked on the thumbnail of this episode, if you clicked on the audio version, you know what we're going to talk about tonight. Before we get into that, I want to say thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And if it's your first time listening or your 100th time listening, I don't care. Don't forget to rate and review us on the podcast. We really appreciate it. So tonight we're going to talk about what is the best way to read a comic. Ian had a friend of ours come to him talking about wanting to get into comic books, and it kind of spurred this conversation. But before we get into that, there are a couple of pieces of news that has come out in the last couple of days that I wanted to get Ian's take on. We haven't done like a news segment in a long time, and we were talking about maybe getting back into that as TV shows are becoming a little more sparse until they pick back up after all the strikes. And so there's a couple of big things. First and foremost, there have been a ridiculous amount of leaks from movies and TV shows lately. Full on set pieces of Deadpool 3 have been put online, so much so that Ryan Reynolds was actually photoshopping the pictures that were leaking and making them more ridiculous so people didn't know what was actually in the movie versus what he was photoshopping. But recently we've been dealing with Daredevil Born Again is being filmed right now, and they have spoiled so much from this show. Now, Ian, I know that you're not on social media a lot, so you haven't been seeing these spoilers, but what do you think about people that are scoopers that are putting these things out there? What do you think morally is that okay? Or do you think that that is a douche move?
I don't know. I don't know because I try to avoid spoilers at all costs, and you know this. I don't watch trailers a lot,
Right.
especially like comic book or Marvel trailers or anything like that. Like I try to avoid them like the plague because of shit like this.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you're on social media, something happens. I talked about this the other night. If anybody listened to my preview of Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, I said that IGN, who is a very credible source usually, and one I usually go to for like comic book or video game, and I skip the movie reviews, but I usually go to them for stuff like that. But the issue here lately has become, if I get on social media, I'm scrolling through. They did it to the Insomniac Spider-Man 2. They've done it
Hmm.
to now Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. They show the end of the game. There's a
Yeah.
cutscene from the end of the game. Now, a lot of people are getting like upset about what they saw, and I wasn't like really surprised about what I heard. It would have been nice to like not witness it that way and witness
Hmm.
it in the game. But I mean, it's not a really big surprise with the title of the game, but still, I don't want to see the end of the game. I didn't want to see the end of the game of Insomniac's Spider-Man 2.
Hmm.
And here I am, like, and it was a huge deal what I saw on that. And that's just because like I'm scrolling through and I stopped to look at what I think is just a game trailer. And I'm like, oh, cool, new trailer. And then like you're watching, you're like, wait a minute, because sometimes they make them look like a
Hmm.
a cinematic.
Right.
So you stop for a second, and then I'm like, this is why I should stop stopping.
Yep.
Stop stopping. This is why I shouldn't stop on things like this. This is why I should keep scrolling.
Hmm.
And I learned my lesson. And is that my fault for being a little too eager to watch a new trailer, or is that their fault for putting it out there? But like I said, man, very rep
Reputable.
respect. Well, I was gonna say respectable source,
Right.
because I don't even know if I'd say reputable, because
They
to
do it
me
all
that
the time.
destroys a reputation. They
Yeah, that's
now have a
true.
reputation
Yeah.
for putting the end of games up. You know what I mean? So that's why I was
Right.
trying to change that. And I just don't understand the purpose of that. And I don't understand the purpose of doing what people are doing that you said.
Hmm.
I had when Justice League uh the Snyder Cut was coming out,
Hmm.
I was scrolling through seeing things and people were texting me things. I'm like, I don't want to see all this stuff. I want to see when the movie comes out. And I get it. People
Right.
are excited. And some people don't care. They like spoilers. I respect that. No, no problem. But I don't want to see it.
Hmm.
Just respect the fact that I don't want to see it. I want to see it fresh when the movie or game or comic or whatever it is comes out. I don't want to know. And some stuff like is unavoidable. Do
Right.
you remember? I mean, it was probably close to 10 years ago now. There was this big deal because the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the IDW issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is coming out, and they kill one of the turtles
Hmm.
in the issue, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about it before the issue came out. And I'm like, that would have been nice to know while reading the issue, because I was actually reading that run at the time.
That run was excellent, by the way.
But yeah, and it was.
So
And
good.
then the problem became that people were talking so much it was hard to get that comic because people wanted to own that issue because it was
Hmm.
a piece of history.
Right.
So by that, like it just kind of created, a chaos, and I didn't get that issue because people were already talking about what happened and whatnot. And I think it's human nature to want to talk about these things, but at the same
Right.
time, it's just like, come on, man, like leave some sort of like surprise in there.
Well, and also, I don't understand why we got away from spoiler tags. If you want to post that, great. If you want the views, great. There are people that want to see every behind the scenes photo, every set photo of everything. I'm not one of them. I'm on Twitter. I can't call it X. I'm on Twitter every day because of my job with Nerd Initiative. I'm always on there checking things. I'm making sure everything's going on, see if there's anybody that it's just part of something I do. Even though I don't run our Twitter, I'm always checking our feeds, checking things out. And they're not putting spoiler tags, they're not blurring it out. It's very easy to put up a post on social media, blur the image, say click it if you want to see it. It's not hard to do. It's not intense coding that you have to figure that out. It's easily done. But people used to do that and now it's not. And so you asked, is it on me? I don't think it is when somebody is when it comes to a video that you have to actually click the video to see what's going on. Maybe you can take a little bit of the blame thinking, I shouldn't have been so eager to look at it and see that. Maybe you can bear a little bit. But when somebody's just posting 10, 11 pictures online in a row, as you're scrolling, even if you're rapidly scrolling past, you're going to catch a spoiler or two. Like I got a shot of
Hmm.
Daredevil's new suit that he's going to have in this new Born Again. I would have loved to. I don't want to see a new suit, a comic book character suit. in a behind the scenes, like brightly lit photo. I want to see that in a production during the thing when they've got the lighting and the color correction and everything's in motion. See how it looks. So it just bothers me. So I was just curious of your take on that because it really bugs me that people are so desperate to get views and clicks that they're going to screw over mass portions of the audience because they know that they're going to get the attention by posting those things. I hate that.
Now, if you remember, there was a time where, like, if you went online to a website or something and like you were about to see, they'd be like spoilers
Yeah, it would
ahead,
let you know.
and there would be all kinds of stuff around it, bold,
Mm-hmm.
capital letter, underline, spoilers ahead. So you'd be like, don't go beyond this point.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, you've been warned as you scroll down further. So at that point, like, it's at your own risk and it's your own
Right.
fault if you spoil it. And now it's just like, um, you know new information about Deadpool. Like, oh, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
wonder what this new information is. You scroll down, there's the end of the movie. Like he's holding
Right.
like Wolverine's sever head. That's not real. I made that up. Now, if that really happens, you heard it here. I called it. I didn't even know that was going to happen. But he holds like, like something stupid like that. You're like, I didn't want to see the fucking end. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Why didn't you warn me? You honey dicked me in.
yeah, it's really, really frustrating. And I know this sounds like, oh, we'll get off the internet then, old man. But at the same time, I don't think it's too much to ask for some basic decency of letting somebody that doesn't want to be spoiled not be spoiled. Just you can still post the information, put up a warning. That's all. Put up a spoiler warning. You can put up big flashing lights on Twitter. And if I see spoiler warning as I'm scrolling, I know to swipe fast so I don't look at anything. Close my eyes, swipe through, get to a couple of the different ones. But anyway, it's so annoying to get spoiled on something that I wasn't looking for. Um, Before we get to the last thing, there was some sad news. I don't know if you heard this on Wonder Man, uh, which I'm actually really looking forward to. I know a lot of people aren't. There was a crew member who passed away on the set this week. One of the people working in the rigging apparently fell from the rafters and passed away. Uh,
Sad.
Marvel and Disney put out a statement saying, that they're very sorry for what happened. Their thoughts and prayers are with everybody, and that they're going to comply with any investigations. So that's good. But I just want to take a minute and just say, how sorry we are to hear that for the family of the person, the friends, everybody involved in that crew. That had to have been a terrible, terrible time. um, Last thing before we get into our actual topic, Gina Carano is back in the news. Everybody's favorite Gina Carano. Oh, good Lord, our favorite muscle mommy. So, for those that don't remember who Gina Carano is because she hasn't been around for a while, she played Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. She was an MMA fighter um, and a passable actress when she was working. She was actually getting better while she was in Mandalorian. She was doing pretty good. I liked her. She had a pretty big falling out with Disney and was let go from her role because of some of the things that she was saying and doing online. Um, and now, about 2 years later, she has decided, with the help of Elon Musk and the funding from Elon Musk, that it's time to sue Disney for wrongful termination. So not only is she trying to sue Disney to get damages, to get extra money because of the work that she lost and the issues that she had with her character, she also, as part of this lawsuit, wants to be rehired and recast to play the same character that she got fired from. And
I don't ask for much. I just want a boatload of money and to play that part again. That's all I
I
want.
just
I just want what is mine.
for somebody who fought so hard and then went so hard down that rabbit hole of, oh, Disney's this woke organization, I wouldn't want to work with them anyway, blah 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 blah. Now all of a sudden she's probably hurting for money, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I want some of that Star Wars money back. I think I'll let you get to your thoughts, but I think this is one of the silliest lawsuits I've ever heard of. I don't think there's a single chance this makes it to a courtroom. They're going to settle. She's not going to get recast. Um,
I don't have much to say on this other than the fact that like she just sat there and then 2 years later she's like, you know what?
I know. What's the point? Well, and also the thing that's so frustrating to me about it is she was given options. She didn't have to get fired. Like, I don't know if you remember like the whole saga that happened, but she put out a post comparing Republicans in America to Jews and Nazi Germany, um, saying that COVID
Fair.
restrictions was
Right.
the same thing that Jewish people were going through during the Holocaust.
Oh yeah, definitely 100% the exact same.
um, she was a hardcore election denier,
Mm.
uh, big time
Clearly.
COVID denier, and all of these things. And Disney multiple times sat down with her and her representation and said, "You cannot keep posting this stuff. It's going against our brand. It's hurting our brand. We are going to let you go if you don't stop. Here's what you can do to make it better. You can do an apology. You can sit down with some people. We can do this. We can do mediation, whatever we need to do. We want to keep you on." They gave her multiple opportunities and she doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. And then you know what happened?
She
She got
got
fired.
fired.
And I've seen a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, that was a blow to free speech." No, it was not. For the last time, for anyone that doesn't understand, free speech, the First Amendment deals with the government censoring speech and censoring what you can say. Disney is a private organization. Well, they're a public organization because they're publicly owned, but they are a business
They are a
that
privately public organization.
they are a business that can decide what is okay for them and what is not. It has nothing to do with the government. This is not a freedom of speech issue. This is a business told an employee to stop doing something. The employee didn't stop and got fired. What did you do? Did you break your knee?
No, all I did was extend my leg. That's it. That's literally all I did, and it popped really loud, and
Are you
it
gonna
hurt
be
so
okay?
bad.
You gonna be okay,
Yeah,
people?
back in my day. Yeah, so I I don't think I don't know. I got to be delicate with this. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen. You can have your opinions about
Right.
COVID. You can have your opinions about the government and whatnot. Like freedom of speech, by
Yes.
all means.
Absolutely.
Say whatever you want, but freedom ain't free.
Right.
So the point the point I actually do want to make is you can speak on a subject and give your humble opinions and be just that humble. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be a dick about it.
True.
And I respect her opinions on the whole COVID pandemic. I do. I don't agree with it, and I 1,000% don't agree with comparing it to Nazi Germany. You know, you know who usually compares things to Nazi Germany? People who weren't around during the times of Nazi
Right.
Germany.
Right.
And do you know why? Because they don't actually know how horrendous it was. So it's so easy to be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the same thing. And it's just not like comparing what millions of lives lost, bodies stacked on bodies in
Mm.
the street, people being burned alive to be like, oh yeah, COVID. Where have we seen this before? Am I right? Now, if you want to compare it to the plague,
Right.
or something like, okay, I'll give you that, uh a rat, a bat, they're the
Uh-huh.
rats of the sky. So I understand that comparison to a point. I just but to be like, here we go, it's begun.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you sound like a crazy person when you rant like that. And again, have your opinion, but also don't publicly
Mm-hmm.
slander a company because that's what you're doing. You have freedom of speech, but Disney also has rights as well.
Right.
And what you're doing is slandering them.
Right.
And they have every right to defend themselves and they have every right to be like, you know what? This is not the type of employee we want working here.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any job. If you worked at Home Depot and
Right.
you're saying things like that as a cashier to customers walking by, enjoy this Butterfinger, because you're not going to have it much longer because we're going to turn into like you start saying crazy shit like that, they're going to pull you to the side and be like, listen, Kathy, you're off your fucking rocker. Stop saying shit like that. And then you're eventually going to get fired.
Uh-huh.
It's any company.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
and to be like, oh shit, I guess I don't really care. I'm gonna keep saying what I want to say, and then get fired, and then act surprised, like I can't believe that after the seventh warning they actually fired me. I figured I'd get at least like seven or eight more.
Hmm.
So with that being said, I find that funny that 2 years later she's like, you know what? I didn't even
Right.
think about that.
You know what?
I
I
think
could
I'm
have
gonna think
done
of,
something about
I
this.
think I'm gonna sue.
Right.
Like now, had you told me that 2 years ago she had initiated this and it
Hmm.
took 2 years for them to get
Right.
a court date, I would have been okay with that. Well, okay, I wouldn't say I'd be okay with it. I'd understand
It would
that
make more
because
sense
it
if she
was
filed this
because
on
of the
Tuesday.
yeah, because of the
Today's
judicial
Thursday.
system, it takes time to do things and set up court dates, and I get that.
Hmm.
But she didn't. She just filed it.
Yeah.
Like
So
she was
she
just
got
sitting in her living room and was just like, "Fuck, you know what? I got nothing going on. I think I'm just gonna sue Disney."
she got fired in 2021. It is
Yeah.
now February of
So
2024. So
almost
that's
3 years.
almost 3 years later. And seriously, we're recording this right now on the 8th, which is Thursday. She went in and filed this lawsuit on Tuesday of this week. So it's not like it's been, like you said, it's not like it's been just in the system and it's been working on it and everything. No, she waited almost 3 years. And the
As one
only reason,
does.
and the only reason she did is because Elon Musk put forth the money to let her sue Disney. Because that's the other insane thing about this. Elon Musk, who acts like he's this bastion of free speech, yet bans people on Twitter nonstop. Um, he he said in I don't even want to read his stupid comment. He decided he's going to use his Twitter money to pay for this lawsuit. It's just so silly. Ugh, what a waste of time. Absolute waste of time. So let's talk about comics. You want to talk about comics and stop talking about stupidity?
Hmm.
Maybe. Or maybe we can talk about stupidity in comics.
No, I think this will definitely change the flow of the conversation because I won't be annoyed with talking about comics. Well, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I
You
won't be
might.
annoyed. You may get annoying
I
depending on what you're
might.
about to say.
Well, I might because the title of this episode is what's the best way to read comics, and that's a little clickbaity of a title because I'll go ahead and give the spoiler right now, and here's your spoiler warning for my opinion, since we were talking about spoiler warnings earlier. I don't think there is a best way to read a comic. If you're able to take in a comic book, whatever way you're able to get that into your brain, it's the right way. Whatever way that you think is the right way, it's the right way.
I was going to say, obviously, best way is an opinion,
Yeah.
obviously,
Hmm.
and we get that. So
I have my favorite ways, but that's
that's what I was about to say. We have ways that we like to read them, and we're going to share that. And there's no wrong way to eat a read. There's no wrong way to read a comic. Um,
Oh
you
God,
like that?
that's such
I
a
just made that
millennial
up.
faux
Right?
pas.
I
There's
know.
no wrong way to eat a
Well,
Reese's.
and that's the issue with Derek and I. Derek and I are damn near 40. We're
Hmm.
37, 38 respectively. Um, we have a bunch of useless movie and TV knowledge floating around in our heads.
Hmm.
The problem with that is we've seen a lot of commercials,
Yep.
and we like to talk about 90s nostalgia all the time. And sometimes Derek and I think I usually send this to you, but you do appreciate it. I'll send you like, hey, remember these? And it'd be
Hmm.
like Doritos 3D,
Yep.
but not that shitty Doritos 3D that came out a few years ago. Have you
The
had
goods.
those?
No, I refused.
They're awful.
I refuse.
The OGs were amazing. That was my favorite chip.
Yeah, I refuse the
Favorite's
new one.
probably a little too much, but it was highly up here on my list.
Yeah, but my
Um,
kids have no idea about that. Like I talk about commercials, and I've got jingles in my head from 30 years ago. And my kids don't know
exactly.
what that is because they don't see ads. I mean, the only thing I think I've got an ad based tier on Netflix because I refuse to pay the ridiculous price that Netflix charges right now.
Yeah.
And so they get an ad for other Netflix shows. They don't get commercials like we did, where you got a solid 4 minutes of commercials in between what you're watching.
Well, then, like I'm sure you've experienced this. like the younger generation looks at you like you got two heads if they're like
Hmm.
drinking a drink and they're like, to me, okay, Kool-Aid Jammer. To
Yeah.
me, that was a squeeze it back in the
That
day.
was a yes. Thank you. It's a squeeze it. It's a squeeze
So
it.
when I say
It's a
squeeze
squeeze
it,
it so much better.
they
Kool Aid
act
Jammer.
like
Screw you with your
you
Kool Aid
just
Jammer.
fucked their grandmother in front of them. They're like, it's a Kool-Aid Jammer. I'm like, first of all, calm down. Gam Gam's fine. Like, Jesus, it's a generational thing. I get it,
Yes.
Kool-Aid Jammer. I'm sorry, but to me there was and the funny part is it's not even a Kool-Aid Jammer.
No, not anymore.
It's
What is it now?
whatever
It's
it is
Kool Aid.
today. I
I don't
don't
even know what it's
remember.
called now. It's
But it's so
squeeze
funny.
it was
Like, oh,
superior.
it's this. And like some things are coming back, like, and not in a good way. Doritos 3D. I think
Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos made a comeback. Look at you and I right here.
Yeah, I know. Oreo
Dunkaroos came
cakesters.
back.
Oreo cakesters are back and they're better than ever. I'll fight. Oh, they're so good.
And it worries me when I see some things like Lifesaver Cream Savers.
Hmm.
Those made a return as somebody bought a bag and brought them in when I still worked at Verizon, and I started eating them, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
delicious. And then it dawns on me when I had to open up to get into it, the individual piece, it was like stuck to the inside and kind of like melty a little. And I was like, that's okay. I don't care. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and eat it. And then it dawns on me, how old are these?
Right?
These aren't in production anymore,
They
right?
just found them in the back somewhere.
Like you go to open it and it just disintegrates. It just puffs like strawberry cream flavor in your face. Oh, nostalgia. Love that nostalgia.
Love that Joker.
Love that Joker. So stuff like that is
Hmm.
a generational thing. So, with that being said, when we grew up, you could not go anywhere around here to buy a comic.
Hmm.
We bitched about this before that every now and again you go to Walmart and they'd sell like a
Hmm.
4-pack of random comics.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like DC and Marvel mixed.
Right.
What the hell's
You get
happening
some
here?
random like independent comic thrown in there that you've never heard of.
Yeah. And my favorite growing up, buying those random comics is, do you remember um the trading cards that would come out and
Hmm.
like the original Batman 89 trading cards? And they come with that little stick of hard,
Like
crusty, disgusting
rusty
gum
or nasty gum.
that's been rubbing all over the back of one of those Topps cards.
What was that made of? It wasn't chewing gum. You can't convince me
Oh,
it was gum.
you'd go to put it in your mouth and it'd break
It
into
break.
three pieces.
It was
Like it
like
was
a it
made
was
from
like a super
hydrogen.
it was like a super crispy piece of bacon that just like crumbles when you go to pick it
Yes,
up.
but no flavor to it. Mmm. Ooh, the Batmobile.
Oh,
So
terrible.
that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to have a bunch of those cards, like a shit ton of packs of those cards and stuff. So I loved buying those.
Hmm.
But usually I had to get stuff like that from the video store around here.
Hmm.
For those of you who don't know, we grew up we still live in this small town,
Yeah.
but we grew up in this small town, a population 12,000 now. Couldn't tell you what it was back then. It was probably about 45 people back
Yeah.
then.
Wasn't a lot.
We had a few different movie stores. We were talking about this the other day. Do you
Hmm.
remember Video Town?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't go there often because we lived in Hanover, so we went to
What
Video
was the
Track out here in Hanover.
Is that what it was called? Video Track? So they had one in Madison.
Video track like tracking like on the like a track of film. Video track was
Oh,
at Madison.
and they weren't owned by the same person?
No, they were different people. Because I always got
Okay.
confused when I was a kid. I was like, "Are these the same?" And then my dad looked at me like, "It's a completely different name. What do you mean?" I was like,
Because
"But they're so similar. What do you mean?"
that one you're talking about in Hanover, that's by the old dollar store or old dollar store, that dollar store there, right? It was
Yeah,
in that area.
yeah. It
Okay.
was out there by the bank where
I've been
CVS used to
there.
be.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there. I've been there a few times growing up. We didn't go there a lot because I lived in Madison. So
Mm-hmm.
our mains were Video Town when I was growing up, and then there was a video store that was up there on the corner where
Mm-hmm.
the dentist office, eye care group is now,
Mm-hmm.
right there at that four-way stop. There was a video place there, and then the other as I got into my teens, we had a Blockbuster and we
Yep.
had Roadrunner Video.
Yep. Was Roadrunner
And
in Walmart? What was the one in Walmart? Or was that
that
a
was movie gallery.
movie gallery? That's right.
So yeah, and back in our day, there was a McDonald's, there was a movie rental place called Movie Gallery in Walmart.
Walmart was a beautiful
Um,
place in the early 2000s,
oh yeah,
late
man.
90s, early 2000s. Ah, you get anything.
Ah.
It was truly a one-stop shop.
And it's funny because like the video store that was in Walmart wasn't very big, but they had a lot of shit in there, I feel
Yeah,
like.
I ended up going there more than anywhere else because it was I could always find what I was looking for there.
Yeah.
They had a
I
much
knew I
better
knew where everything
selection.
was.
Yeah.
But remember Video Trek in Madison, you walked
hmm
up and they had the little chips
hmm
that were sitting on the edge of there's like this little hook they'd
hmm
sit on. And you'd go up and whatever game or movie you wanted, if the chip was there, it meant it was in stock. So you grab the chip and walk off,
Yep.
which was really cool. Um and random times like that, you'd find like random comics like sitting there
hmm
on the shelf because there'd be like candy and comics. It's just like, yeah, what goes great with the movie? Comic book. But they had a lot of action figures there too. Like I would get some of the Batman '89 figures there.
hmm
And man, growing up, Walmart had the best comic book action figures.
hmm
Because when we were growing up, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a big cartoon
hmm
in the early '90s. Batman the animated series was big. Superman the animated series was big.
Spider-Man was huge. X-Men.
Spider-Man, X-Men. So we had the coolest toys. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had the
Oh my
best like
God.
toy line.
I
So
wish I still had some of my Power Ranger toys from when I was a kid. They were so freaking cool.
I still got some. They're not in the best shape, but I still got some where you could like pull the belt down and they flip their
The head
head.
would flip. Yeah.
Yeah, I still got some of those. The reason I bring up the toys is because over in the toy section there was random comic books
hmm
sometimes. Um, this all started with Derek and I when a dear friend of mine, Corey Wayne Hoagland, which by the way, hurt his back recently. Get well soon, buddy.
Get better, bud.
He brought up to me the other night that because when we all get together, we talk about Marvel and DC and like
hmm
movies and stuff, and he likes all those movies. He brought up to me, I just noticed I said Corey Wayne Hoagland. That's his actual name. I didn't actually make up somebody's middle name for once. That's his real
That's
middle
yeah.
name.
Normally, you never say somebody's real middle name.
Yeah, and
It's
it
always something
sounds like a
ridiculous.
made up name
It
is the
does.
funny part. So he brought up to me that he wanted to get into comics more. We were talking the other night and I was telling him like what I like and what you like and a few other people. It was mainly me and you because I usually just talk comic books about me and you. There's another guy at work that kind of talks about it. So I brought up to Corey. I was like, "Hey, he reads this, and I've read this, and you should." So we have this conversation at work, and he's super hype, and we tell him like what he should read, and we've got a few graphic novels, and we're gonna bring him in for him to start. And ergo, that's how we started talking about wrong and right ways to read a comic. And he said, I don't know if I want to read one on my phone. I'd like to hold it in my hand. I don't know why I'm holding the screwdriver. I think it was just fidgeting. So I said, yeah, no, I completely understand that. Now I know people that how do you feel about reading a book? Can you read digitally or like do you prefer to have it in your hand, the feel of a book?
So the way that I
Not
can
just comics, just books in
right,
general.
we talked about this a little bit ago before we got on here. The way that I consume like actual novels and things like that now because of my job and because I'm constantly running
Mm.
is all on Audible or like the Libby app and listening to an audiobook. Which by the way, it's the same thing. Bite me. Don't come at me about how reading a book on Audible isn't you're not reading it, you're listening to it. You're consuming the media. Bite me. It's the same words. But for me, the way that I'll do it the most time is listening to an audiobook. But if I'm going to be actually reading something in print, I would rather have a paper copy in front of me. I can read a digital, but for like an actual like novel, if I'm going to sit down and read a chapter book, I like to have it in front of me. I like the smell of a book. Like I love the smell of the paper, especially if it's an older book or
Mm.
one that I've read a lot of times, like The Hobbit. Like I've got this great issue or this great copy of The Hobbit that's illustrated by Alan Moore. He did a lot of the a lot of the design work for the Peter Jackson movies. It's a beautiful green bound book with this incredible illustration. It's my favorite book. If I'm going to sit down and read The Hobbit, that's the version I want to read. I haven't gotten to read it for like a decade, but I
I
would
wonder
love to read it sometime again.
why haven't you read this?
Oh, I don't
You
know.
own
I,
it.
I do own it. I do. I
Hmm.
absolutely own it. As a matter of fact, our wife got it for me as a birthday present, and because she knew that The
How
Hobbit
long
was my
ago was
favorite.
this? At least 10 years.
She got me that. We were married already, so it was early on in our marriage. So I'm going to say it was probably around 14 years ago.
That sounds like a book, Derek, that you would keep close to the heart, somewhere
Right?
very near and dear to you that you know is safe.
Yeah. Thankfully, I know where that book is. It's not in
That
my house.
it's right over there. Actually,
It
I
hasn't
can
been in
see
my
it.
house for 10 years, but I know where it is. I know where it
people,
is, and that's all that
people.
matters.
Derek and I like to exaggerate and embellish on this show.
I'm not embellishing this one.
There is no punchline here. I've had that book for no less than 10 years. And for those of you thinking, like, how many times have you read that thing? About zero. I'm about a quarter of a way through it. And if you're wondering, why don't you give it back to him? Why would I at this point? Possession, 9/10 of the law, am I right? Alan Moore did that?
No, 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 no. Not Alan Moore. Um, not that Alan Moore.
Ah, you got me excited. I was like, well, I'm going
No,
to read it
no, no,
right
no.
now.
Oh God, is it Alan Moore? Now you got me thinking that it's not Alan Moore.
You got me excited.
I swear his name is Alan Moore. You'll have to look at the book. It's in front of you. I can't see it.
I'll
But
go grab
anyway,
it.
back to the actual question at hand. If I'm going to read a book, I like to have the paper copy, but I can read a digital book. It's just I have a harder time when I'm just reading words on a page versus reading like a comic where you've got the visual medium to it of just scrolling on a phone or a tablet. I can do it, but it's harder for me to focus on that. So I don't know how you are with a book like that, but for me, it's harder for me to read a digital book and stay
It
focused.
it depends. What I mean by that is my mindset at the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I am sitting around the house and I own a paperback book, which I do own quite a few, um, I'll take that book. I'll read it when I worked at Verizon and I had some downtime, or like I think when I worked at Lowe's, like in the break room, I'd take it in, I'd read it like on breaks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's just convenient as like, oh no, I forgot my book.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would just simply pull out your phone and there it is. There's your book.
Right.
And a lot of like Kindle Unlimited books are included with that package and some
Mm-hmm.
aren't. And I'm sorry, obviously they're included with Kindle Unlimited because that's what it is. What I mean is there are exclusives
Right.
just for Kindle Unlimited. And sometimes so there's this artist, author, that's who writes books. There's this author who
It's Alan
writes
Lee.
Alan Lee, okay.
Alan Lee is the artist. Alan Moore is the writer. My brain, man. COVID
Lee,
really messed
Lee,
up my brain.
Lee, 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 Lee,
Alan
Lee.
Lee. Alan Lee was the artist that did that one. So I apologize for the confusion.
That's okay. We were talking about the Killing Joke earlier. That's probably what got
It
you.
might be but anyway, go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry. I had a brain
No, I'm
lightning.
glad you told me.
Lightning struck my brain.
How many times?
Six, six, six,
6 times.
66 times.
What was I talking about?
I'm sorry. I don't know. We were talking about how you would have the digital when you were at
There's
work,
this
and there's
author
the
that I
yeah.
like a lot. So my favorite genre of books is mystery thrillers. I like a
Mm-hmm.
good twist. Her name is Kirsten Motglin,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of hers are just like Amazon exclusives, to where like you can buy the paperback books on Amazon, but they're included in Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if I could pay $10 a month and get all these books
Mm-hmm.
versus buying each one of her books for no less than $10.
Right.
They're already there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Now, somebody I know has to have them like in their hand, and they would buy them, and she actually is the one that got started me on her. And she would let me borrow the paperback books, and I was completely okay with that because I like a good paperback book.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about that, but I don't always want to be that way because of the convenience. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm an Audible and Libby guy too. If I'm driving to Clarksville or which geography, 45 minutes to an hour away from us is
Right.
south. So if I'm driving that way, it's a straight shot down down 62. So I'll throw on an audiobook
Hmm.
or a podcast,
Yeah.
like that's like saying like, oh, you shouldn't listen to podcasts.
Well, like, and to that same point, like I'm on the road 6 days a week. I'm on the road anywhere from four
That's
to six
yeah.
hours a day. So, like, when am I supposed to read a book, Nancy? I can either listen to this book on Audible and actually get through and consume new media and learn and get new ideas and do all the things that are wonderful about a book, or I can come home and as I'm passing out from exhaustion from the day, read half of a chapter before I fall asleep with it on my chest.
Well, and like I said, it's a mindset thing. If it's summertime
Hmm.
and there's a nice like gentle breeze, and if I've got somewhere that I could go and hang out and take a paperback book and
Hmm.
sit down by like the river down here and find a nice little cozy spot under a tree or in the grass, or I guess the grass would be under a tree, but somewhere that I could sit there and read peacefully under the sun.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or like if I've been looking at vacation spots. I've
Hmm.
been looking at Airbnbs. And man, the Airbnbs I'm looking at, I'm specifically looking for a place that has like an outside like porch,
Hmm.
like a wraparound type
Right.
thing that's like covered. It didn't even have to be covered, just somewhere like I can hang out, go walking through the woods, because I like to go for walks by myself typically,
Hmm.
in an area that a lot of people aren't, preferably. So I've been looking at places to where like I can go walk and then at nighttime I can just sit out on this porch and read a
Hmm.
book. Read a book under whatever little bit of lighting I have.
I do the same at least twice a year when the winter finally calms down and we actually are like fully into spring and it's nice. And like the first day that there's a nice gentle breeze of the fall after the summer, like after the heat settles down, I will grab my pipe, I will grab a beer, I'll grab the Hobbit, and I'll turn on some cool, relaxing music. I'll chill out on that front porch. I'll drink a beer, smoke a pipe, and read a book. And it is glorious. I look forward to those 2 days every year. I can't wait.
It
It's going to be about
it
another month before I get to do it again, but I
it
love it.
really does help your mental health sometimes. And sometimes I decide to read on my phone because I'm weird and I get overstimulated
Hmm.
sometimes, like holding a book, and I just like shake and I can't focus, and
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense to me either. But I don't know if it's because like your brain is tricked because you always have your phone in your hand because we live in that kind of society now, and there's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with it. But at the same time, like I do want to be able to sit down and just read a book. And I got all these comics at my disposal right here on my phone, and it saves me a shit ton of money because I can just read them on my phone and
Hmm.
go to certain websites. Or I had the DC Unlimited, Marvel Unlimited. I had the DC Infinite app,
Hmm.
and I've been reading like Batman on there and stuff. But I'll go into a place like Books a Million or some place that has a bunch of graphic novels, and I'll pick it up and
Hmm.
be like, I really want to buy this graphic novel. I could easily read it on my phone, but like again, there's something about owning
Hmm.
it and having it. And I think to me, it's a level of excitement to have friends like Corey, who's never really got into comics, to
Hmm.
be like, oh, you want to read? Here's a graphic novel. Borrow
Yep.
this from me.
Yeah, I've already
Love
got it
it.
right here. You don't have to go searching for it. Check this
Yeah.
out. Let me know what you think about that. If you like it, I get this over here. I do the same thing with starting to kind of transition into comics. I love having a physical comic in front of me. I
Yeah.
really do. I love the feel of it, especially and like I talked about with books. If you got an older comic, like I've gone back and I've been trying to build up my collection of Nova from back in the 70s and 80s. I've been trying to build up that collection, and I've also been building up my even though I've read all of them, I've been trying to build up the Iron Man books that I don't have in my collections from that period of time also.
Yeah.
The grain of the page is different, the smell of it's different, the way the colors look on the page is different. I can read those right now on Marvel Unlimited. It's not quite the same as having it in my hand. But with that being said, for me right now, as much as I would love to do that, because of the time crunch, similar to what's going on with Audible, I read 99% of my comics digitally right now. I still buy the physical book, so I've got it for the collection, but because of the work that I do with Nerd Initiative and because I'm reviewing those comic books, I have to get I have to get a review copy of it to read it so that I can get the review in time, and so I have to read them digitally. So I've adjusted to reading digitally comics primarily, even though it's not my favorite way of doing it. So
But you're not opposed to it. You're not going to make fun of somebody for doing it.
absolutely not. I know people that love reading comics digitally, that's their favorite way of doing it. And it's fine. I still get everything out of it. I still get the story. I get to see the artwork. I can go at my own pace. I can zoom in. I can kind of do everything. It's
Yeah.
great. It's great. It's just not my preferred method of doing it. I'm pigeonholed into a spot because of a job that I do,
Hmm.
but that I love, by the way. I'm not complaining about that. It's amazing.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not my favorite way. But I do not begrudge anybody that option if that's the way that they like consuming comic books. I also don't think that you have to collect comic books physically to say that you're a fan of comics. I think that that's absolutely not something you have to do. If you want to read it digitally and be done with it, not have a clutter, that's fine. That's on you, whatever you want to do. I like having them all lined out in numerical order based on category, based on character, and my long boxes full.
I personally think they're overpriced. I think to get a
Yeah.
graphic novel, I get that there's a lot of volumes in there, and it's
Hmm.
like they're like $30 for a graphic novel. And it's like, yeah, but at $4 an issue, it's like, yeah, but if issues weren't $4 a piece,
Right.
graphic
Yeah, and
novels wouldn't be so high. Now, I don't know what goes into making a comic. Maybe that's actually cheap compared to like, what they have to put into it and the ink and the
I don't
drawings and the writings and the
I personally to that point. So Marvel has been more expensive than DC. DC drew a hard line with theirs that they were going to keep comics at $2.99 for a long time. Now they've branched out. They've got their bigger books that are like their Black Label books and things like that, where Marvel sticks at $3.99 to $4.99 just for a
Mhm.
regular comic book. And I don't see a difference in quality of materials that's
Between
big
those two.
enough for the two. I understand that Marvel does have better paper quality. I get that. I can see that there technically is, but I do not understand the need for that quality at the cost to the consumer.
I agree
So
with you there.
so I agree with you. It is way too expensive. It's a hobby that should be cheaper than it is. Although for a
But
hobby, it's not that overly expensive if you're not buying 20 books a month.
that's the problem. I want to buy 20 books a
I do
month because
too.
I want a smorgasbord of comics to read
Mm-hmm.
because I want all the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that pisses me off is how sporadic comics can be.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean like if I'm in the middle of this story and all of a sudden a character pops up that was different in what I read
Mm-hmm.
before, I'm like, when did this character become this character again?
Yep.
And it's like at the bottom, I don't
Yeah.
know if
The
Marvel does it,
editor's
but
notes.
DC does
Yeah,
it.
they got the editor note telling you, hey, you want
If
to
you
hear
want to
this
know
story?
more, you got
Yep.
to read blah 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 issue blah blah blah. And it's just like, God
Yep.
damn it. Now I gotta go
That's
get that issue.
which is
And then I
another
go to read
reason.
that issue, and then I'm like, well, I don't even know what's going on in this
Mhm.
series. I came here to read this. Now I gotta start from the beginning.
Which is
You know how much
another,
time that takes?
yeah, which is another great, um, another great
Marketing.
win in the column of digital
Yeah.
because hey, if you're reading that on Marvel Unlimited, guess what? You already paid your monthly subscription fee for this. That comic book's right there. Go and check it out.
So I'm a
So
big sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm a big Cassandra Cain fan.
Yeah, I love Cassandra Cain. She's a
I thought
great
she was
character.
an awesome Batgirl. I liked her. I mean, she's been like Black Bat and a few other things, but like I
Hmm.
liked her as Orphan as well.
Hmm.
And then, I'm reading the main run of Batman right now, and I've got through the New 52 Batman, I've got through Rebirth, and now I'm on like whatever they're calling Batman now, just
Right.
Infinite. Is that what they're calling the
I,
DC
I
line right
guess
now?
I don't even know.
I'll just call it Batman now. So Rebirth is over and everything, so now it's just Batman. And all of a sudden she's back and she's Batgirl, and I'm like, and she's got the original like get up. I don't know if you've seen it, but the
No, I
mask
haven't.
that had like
The full
the
face
covering,
mask that covers the mouth
it's
and
the same
everything.
outfit, and I
Really?
love that outfit. It's a
That's
really cool outfit.
that's my favorite Batgirl costume, by the way.
Me
I
too.
love that one. She's
And
not my
now
favorite
it's
Batgirl, but God, that's my favorite
it's
costume.
her and Stephanie Brown. They're both Batgirl. She's not
She's
spoiler
not
anymore. They're
spoiler
both
again.
they're both Batgirl. And Barbara Gordon calls herself Batgirl, but she's Oracle again. Now that part I do know because they did that in Batman.
Hmm.
after the death of spoilers, after the death of
Spoilers.
Alfred from like 3 years
I'll
ago.
say that is a while back, but that's a fair
But
spoiler warning.
after the death of Alfred, they really had no eyes and ears anymore because Alfred was a huge part of that family
Hmm.
when it came to like their communications and everything. So she became Oracle again. Don't get me wrong, man, it made sense, but like
Right.
um all of a sudden she just can't use her legs anymore. What the hell? So that was terrible. Sorry. So I get that, but like, and now there's a separate like run of them
Hmm.
having like their little Batgirl group, and that's cool. But it's just like it's a lot to follow, and it's a
Right.
lot of backtracking, and it's a lot of like now reading I have to do.
Hmm.
I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is like I wanted to get into other things. We talked about Radiant Black. I want to get
Hmm.
into that. There's a few Scott Snyder runs of stuff that aren't DC related. I want to
Hmm.
read those. Like what is it like I downloaded something of his recently. I can't remember which run it was, but he did that. I'm a James Tinian fan.
Hmm.
He's got a series that I want to get into. Kyle Higgins did Radiant Black and what's the other one? Oh, Power Rangers. He did a
Yeah.
Power Rangers run. I started that. Didn't really get a chance to get all the way into that. So like, there's just so much I want to get into,
If you want
and
one
I
more
haven't even
thing, by the
started
way,
Marvel yet.
if you want one more thing, speaking of Power Rangers versus Godzilla was one of the most fun times I've had reading a comic
Really?
book in a long time. It's from last year. It came out, or 2022, I think, is when it came out. It is so much fun. It's like 4 issues, absolute blast.
Now, we talked about the convenience of reading
Hmm.
digitally. If it wasn't for that, I would have never got to read one of the greatest comic book series of all times. It was a mini series. It was like a one shot type deal. It was Archie versus the Predator.
I never read Archie versus the Predator. I heard nothing but good things. People loved that.
It was so stupid, but so
Hmm.
funny and fun and just ridiculous. And it's everything you would expect. And I had a blast reading it.
That's what's so fun about comics, man. People, there's so many people that don't get into comics and they don't understand what it is. They think it's just capes. They think it's Superman. They think it's Batman. They think it's Spider Man. There are so many other things that you can get in comic books. Like Archie has done some crazy stuff over the years. There was Afterlife with Archie, which was a crazy like zombie book that they did. Sabrina had a crazy run. But then not only that, you get things like Joe Kelly's I Kill Giants, which is one of the greatest books ever written, in my opinion. If
Heard
you've
of it,
never
never read
read
it.
I Kill Giants, it is phenomenal. A beautiful, beautiful book that is some phenomenal artwork, but the story itself is just incredible. But there are things like that. A History of Violence, that movie is based off of a book, off of a comic book. There's so many different things that comics can be, and one of the best things that they've done, that the comic book industry have done, has leaned into digital. As much as I know there are a lot of purists that don't like digital, they think it's taking away from the medium. I don't see that. I don't think that it is. I think it's opening up an avenue for so many more people to get into comics that had no possibility of doing it before. So I think that digital comic books is a great thing. Do I want it to take the place of physical copies? Absolutely not. I think that that is what comics should be. But in order to accommodate a larger group of people, digital is fantastic. That's my 2 cents about it. I love digital, even though it is not by any means my preferred way of reading it.
No, but like I said, there's a convenience to it, and it's the easiest way to be able to cover a lot of different
Mhm.
series and stuff in a short time,
And it's cheaper.
and it's cheaper. That's what I was trying
Yep.
to get around to.
I knew that's
Um,
where you were going. Sorry to steal your
now,
thunder.
now,
Steal all
steal
your
your
thunder.
thunder, Carrie. So, with that being said, I don't think people should stop collecting graphic novels. You
Hmm.
don't have to pick a side, people. You don't have
Yeah.
to. You're either digital or you're a physical type of collector. You don't have to be. You can collect graphic novels on the side
Hmm.
and not read them and still read the digital copy.
Yeah. So like I said, that's what I do with Iron Man and the Avengers, because those are the things that I review the most. I will read all of them digitally, and then I'll go and I'll order the last 3 or 4 issues of Iron Man, get them shipped to me, and get them and have them here. And I take them out of the packaging, put them into my own bag and board, put them into my collection. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there are books that I can't get digitally, or some that I
Yeah,
don't want to read digitally. Like I finally got a chance to read the Ninja Turtles Last Ronin, which is so good. I
I'm
finally got
on
a
the
chance to
last
read
issue of
that.
that.
And our buddy Sean, that used to be Caption Life, when I was up in Indy with him at PopCon last year, he bought me the hardcover like deluxe edition of Last Ronin.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
beautiful book. It's incredible. It's got artwork on the back of it. I wouldn't get that in a digital copy. That's something you want held in your hand. So I think that it's okay to do. It's absolutely okay to do both. I've got a stack of graphic novels over there that I don't read, but I've got them because I can read it digitally if I need it. But sometimes I want to go and grab that and pick it up and hold it in my hand and read it.
Not that you should like sway your kids in any way, but it's probably helpful. Like when your kids come out and they
Hmm.
see those physical
Hmm.
copies. Daddy, what's this? And you say, "Don't touch that. It's collectible."
That's how Claire has gotten into comic
Just
books.
kidding. But yeah, that is my point. They come out and be like, "Hey, what's this?" You're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that's cool, right?" I mean, that's how we got into it. Like, you
Hmm.
go into a store and you see that and you pick it up. You're like, "That's really cool," and you start flipping through and stuff like that. Now, I will say, I did forget a place. Foods Plus that
Oh yeah.
used to be Foods Plus. It's Kroger now.
Hmm.
They had a bunch of magazines and books, and they had comic books there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. That was back in the day where you could actually buy books off a spinner rack and still be
Mhm.
able to pick up comics. That was a long time ago.
It was. It's a different.
Bad day.
It's really different now, and that's okay
Hmm.
to a point. But it is nice to, like, you can get your kids into it, or
Hmm.
like I said, having a friend like Corey or whoever, like, this not just pertain to us. Anybody that's got a friend out there that's just like,
Hmm.
I want to try it, but I don't know. Oh, well, here, just take this. This is one of the best ones. Read this. Give them a few. If you give them one, they don't like it, then you don't want them to be like, comics suck.
Yeah.
No, this is just what I like. Take these few, see if you like any of them. And maybe you don't like them at all. Maybe you don't, it's not your style because of the way the frames are set up and the dialogue is.
Hmm.
Like, sometimes, like, somebody's talking over here, and in the middle of them talking, somebody will say something and you got to know when to jump back and forth.
Yep.
A lot of people wouldn't
Yeah.
realize that.
There's
Like,
a
they've
learning
never read a
curve to it.
comic. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Hmm. That's like you just remind me of something. Another friend of ours, Matt Bumpkins on TikTok. We've had him on here a
Oh
couple of
yeah, yeah,
times.
yeah.
He's got a huge collection of omnibuses. Like he has a huge physical collection. Helps out at a local comic shop there, and then does nothing on TikTok except talk about all these books that he's reading, and then tells people, "Hey, if you want to check it out, you can either buy it a physical copy, or this book's on Marvel Unlimited this month. You can go and check out, and you can read the whole run." Um, uh, you can encourage people to get into the hobby however they're able to get into it. If Corey decides he doesn't want to read digital, that's fine. You and I both know exactly where he can go to start picking things up.
And that's his prerogative.
That is his prerogative.
He mentioned, like, I said, who's your favorite Marvel character? And he said Captain America. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay, cliche, but whatever. Uh, Lame.
Hey,
Just kidding.
he's square with
Love
an
Cap.
edge.
That's right. I love Cap, so I'm obviously kidding. I said, or no, he asked me, he's like, so what if I wanted to read issue number one of Captain America? And I'm about to go in on this man. And he was like a reprint, like a reprint. And I was like, first of all, kudos to knowing that there would be a reprint.
Right.
I said, but buddy, the the likelihood of finding a reprint of an issue number one of Captain America,
Hmm.
that's still going to be pretty rare too, because they don't just reprint all
Right.
the old issues. You can get lucky and go to places like Buy Sell Trade and go down there and they'll have a box of old comics.
And maybe you get a facsimile edition that they've put out where it's a complete reprint on modern paper and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
But even then, you're only going to find
not
like issue
common.
one.
Yeah, not really common. It's cool if you want to collect and be like, hey, I have issue number one. It's a reprint, but still, it's issue number one.
Yeah.
That's cool. If you're not trying to like flex on somebody by being like, oh yeah, it's an issue number one. But if you just want it because you're like, this is really cool to me, then by all means, do
Hmm.
whatever. That's perfectly fine. Marvel Unlimited. You want to read issue number one of Cap? Get on Marvel
Get on
Unlimited. You can
limited.
read it
Yep.
right there digitally. I have a comic that I own, and Derek, my dear friend Derek, went to a Comic Con and met a hero of mine. He met Scott Snyder,
He's the
and
coolest person on the planet. I swear.
he
He's so freaking
I
cool.
didn't get to
I
meet
wish
him.
you could have gone and see him. Maybe he'll be there this year. We'll try and get you there this year.
He he signed a copy of a comic from Batman Endgame. I want to say
Mhm.
I don't remember which issue, but
6 or 7, I think.
I already owned the issue. But Derek bought me this issue specifically because I wasn't there with him, and he's like, I got to have something for him to sign. I wanted him to sign Derek's breast, but there was no way he was going to be able to get that back to me. So he had him sign this comic book, and I still have this sitting in a very safe place, like locked away
Mhm.
in a cabinet over here. And sometimes, and I'm not afraid to admit it, sometimes I'll just open this cabinet and take it out and just stare at it and be
Mhm.
like, that's my Scott Snyder signature, and then put it back and then walk away
I do the
for no
same thing,
reason.
man. Well, because at that same con, I got Nightwing #1 signed by Kyle Higgins, which was amazing, and I got Inhuman #1 signed by Charles Soule. And every now and again, I'll just look at him.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
it's cool. It's cool for me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. People have come over and I'm just like, want to see something real cool. I pull it out. They're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, you don't have to lie. I don't care.
I think it's cool. That's all that matters.
That's the lamest thing ever. That make me like it more. Like, yeah, well, he's cool. You're not. And I would do like the creepy eyes thing too. So
Ian Wells eyes.
yeah. But no, on a serious note, there's no wrong way to read a comic.
Agreed.
I go through different moods. Like sometimes I have physical issues that I used to collect. I keep pointing because they're sitting right up there. I have graphic novels that I've collected. I've got like a random, like I don't have Batman Long Halloween, but I got Batman Dark Victory.
I've got Long Halloween. That's how we read that, by
We
the
just
way.
swap, yeah.
We swapped
Yeah.
it. You read Dark Victory, I read Long Halloween, and then we
Which is
swapped out.
funny because the reason I got Dark Victory is because we were at a comic book store and Derek bought me Dark Victory. I was like, oh, thanks, man. And then I was like, here. And I swapped so I could read Long Halloween. He could read Dark Victory because,
Yep.
you know, Long Halloween's the first one. Derek already read it.
Yep.
And I think I had already had your Long Halloween in my possession and I
Hmm.
hadn't finished it. And I was like, well, I'm reading that. You might as well read this. And I thought, you know, he's not going to read it that quick. But yeah, he got through um, a whole graphic novel before I finished the other half
Hmm.
of Long Halloween, and I was making some headway on that thing
Hmm.
too.
And
And
Long Halloween's long. That's a long, like, graphic novel. That's what,
yeah,
12 issues, 12 or 13 issues?
well, yeah, at least
Because it's a full year.
it's no Nightfall, but
Right.
it was like two
Good
years worth
God.
of comics. But I brought this up recently to somebody that I work with who also got into comics a few years ago. I said 1 year DC did this run of Batman called Batman Eternal.
Hmm.
And instead of monthly, it was every week there was an issue of Batman. So it was 50. There's like 52 issues, right?
Yeah.
I bought every one of them.
Hmm.
I bought every single one of them. I still have them.
Yeah.
And when I go back to read, I'm probably going to read it digitally. But
Hmm.
it's still cool. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm on this issue, but my phone's on the charger, well, I could just pick up this like
Hmm.
physical issue and look. And sometimes, and call me weird, please don't call me weird, but call me weird, but like I'll just go grab a random issue
Hmm.
out of the plastic and I'll pull it out just so I can flip through and just so I can feel it because I like the
Yeah.
feel of it.
Yeah. Same. And another thing that I'll say, I mentioned it earlier, and you're talking about, having both. If you have a character that you love that's been around for a long time, like Iron Man's my favorite character. That's not a surprise to anybody that's been watching this or listening before. Iron Man's my favorite character. I've read every excuse me, every main run like Iron Man or Invincible Iron Man titled book from Tales of Suspense all the way up into the most recent issue. The only reason I've been able to do that is because when the Iron Man came out in 2008, Marvel put out a CD-ROM with every single issue of Iron Man on it up until 2008. And so I got to read every issue digitally. If I didn't have that option, I would only have what I have in my collection. And I don't know if you know
Hmm.
this, but Tales of Suspense issues, even bad, like horrible grade, aren't cheap. to get those old Tales of Suspense when it's doubling with Iron Man and Cap. I would have had no way of reading my favorite character's backstory other than like the black and white reprints they made in the bound editions and essentials, which I have those. Don't get me wrong. I've got like the first 4 volumes of those. I've read them. I'll read them black and white, but the digital copies is why I got to read my favorite character's entire catalog of comic books. So I will never talk down about digital ever, ever, ever. I think that digital is a wonderful tool for people who love the medium, who love the hobby, who just want to read, who want to find out about their characters. And but at the same time, I will never tell anybody that they're wrong for wanting to read physical only. So
I agree. I agree. I might have a little fun with somebody, but I wouldn't.
well, yeah, I would do that as well, but in all seriousness, like especially if it's somebody that's getting into it new. Also, I've got to be honest, when somebody asks me, "Hey, how should I get into comics?" I tell them to get Marvel Unlimited. Go get you a free trial on Marvel Unlimited or DC Infinite, whichever one you like better, and just try it out, see what you think. Then start buying physical. Make sure that something you're going to like before you go down this rabbit hole of this not cheap hobby. I've spent so many thousands of dollars on comic books over the years.
Yeah.
So it is not a cheap hobby to get into. So I think that digital is also a great way to point somebody new into and for a low cost up front. Up front. As I try
You're
and
gonna make
cough
it.
away from the microphone.
Ah! Yeah. Well, I think yeah, look frozen there for a second. Did you think I was frozen?
No, I got you. I just figured
Damn
you
it.
were being a tool.
I was being a tool. I am with all this talk, I am actually reading digitally currently. I suspended my did I suspend or did I just place on hold my account for DC Infinite because I wasn't reading for a while
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting charged for no reason because I was neglecting to read. So I was like, you know what? That's the beautiful thing about digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel Unlimited does it too. You can basically pause your account
Mm-hmm.
or cancel at any time. And then if you
Just
want, you can
pick
pick
it right
right
back
back
up.
up and your account is saved. So you can go back and start where you left off essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I am, that's another thing too. The good thing about digital is you can open an issue and read it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it sucks, you didn't waste $4.
Yep.
It's just kind of sitting there like, God, I don't ever want to look at you again. You were so bad. Original sin. So,
Oh God. So
um,
bad. So bad.
like I picked up.
Kieran
No, I
Gillen's
lied to you.
entire Iron Man run. Sorry, Kieran Gillen, you're a great writer, but that was a chore to get
I
through that
didn't. I
one.
didn't read that one.
Oh, so bad.
Uh, I would never pick up an issue of Booster Gold in my life
Yeah.
ever for reasons. But I'll tell you, man, he was in the Rebirth run of Batman
Mm-hmm.
in a few different issues where he decided it would be a good idea to get Batman a Christmas present. And he goes back in time to save Bruce's parents so they were never murdered.
I
And
remember
he
this
fucks
story.
everything up. And it's just him trying to keep going back and fixing it. He just progressively keeps making things worse. And he does it comically too.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me be like, you know what? I kind of want to read Booster Gold now. And I read the first issue of Booster Gold and I fucking loved every second of it. It made me want to read it more. I would have never picked up an issue to
Mm-hmm.
find that out. So because of digital, I can just like get on this app and read it and be like, oh, that sucked, never again. Or
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Now I kind of want to get into this. And now like if I see because I always thought Booster Gold was kind of a lame character. And now like
Right.
I really respect and appreciate him more that I understand
Mm-hmm.
him. Now, granted, this is the new 52 version of Booster Gold, so he might have been lame before that. I didn't read any really issues with him in it, but
Mm-hmm.
I like his character. I like his costume, and I think his powers are really really fun. And I love Skeets or whatever that thing
Yeah,
is
the
that
little
floats
robot that
around
flights around with him. Yeah.
that helps him time travel and stuff. So, like I said, if it wasn't for something like that, I would never get into Booster Gold.
Yeah.
I am currently reading the current run of Batman. I am on issue like 116, I think. It's the Fear State where
Mm-hmm.
he's he's battling Scarecrow and the Magistrate, and it's this organization that's basically trying to take over for the police.
Hmm.
And they are because you're not caught up on Batman, correct?
No, I am.
Okay.
Good Lord. I haven't read Batman since before Rebirth. New 52 was the
I
last time I
was
read Batman proper.
when I was keeping up, I was on the first two issues, I think, of Rebirth.
Hmm.
And then I fell way behind, and so now I'm getting caught up because of the DC Infinite app, but
Hmm.
they're not paying me to say that yet.
Not yet.
But because of that, I'm able to catch up on all these issues. So I'm currently reading Batman and reading those little snippets, those editor notes that we were talking about,
Hmm.
makes me want to read other things and get into other. You and I were both really big into the Nightwing series
Oh yeah.
because of Kyle Higgins.
Yep.
I love the Gail Simone run of Batgirl. I
Yeah.
wasn't a huge fan when they turned it into like this teenage
Yeah,
looking.
like the weird like college comedy kind of a
Yeah,
thing they
it
did
was
after
weird
Gail
because
Simone.
that one was so dark,
Hmm.
and this one was so like she's just like taking selfies in the mirror with the peace sign with the duck lips. I'm like, well, okay, well that would have been fine if that's what I read first. But
Right.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I was actually reading there for a while. I was reading a lot of New 52. I was even reading the run of Batwoman,
Yeah. Yeah, I heard
and
the
that
new
was
52
that was good.
run of Batman was or Batwoman was good. All of
That
the
was
Green
good.
Lantern stuff in new 52 was great. I'm not
The
currently reading
Justice League
anything
was
Green
good.
Lantern.
Justice League New 52 was good.
Yeah.
Batman got a little weird. It was really good there for a while, and then after the whole like the wedding
Hmm.
run where he was supposed to marry Batwoman, where you're supposed to that'd be weird. Where you're supposed to marry a Catwoman.
Uh-huh.
Um, After that, it kind of went downhill in my opinion. It's starting to pick up a little bit, but I'm not really a fan of this run either.
Hmm.
I like it more than what I've been reading, but the whole like City of Bane thing
Hmm.
was okay. I'm not a fan of what they did to like Alfred. I hated, you Nightwing getting shot and turning into Rick Grayson, which was a terrible idea. Rick Grayson was such
Yeah.
a douche nozzle, and he's back to being normal now. And because of this run of Batman, it makes me want to go and read Nightwing again. Did
Right.
Did you read Grayson?
I read most of Grayson. I did not finish Grayson.
I didn't finish it either, but I liked what I read of it.
Yeah, what I liked what I read of it a lot. I was still so angry because of what they did in the villainous or whatever that arc was where the villains like took over. I was so angry with what they did where they like killed Nightwing that it had left a bad taste in my mouth. But when I actually finally got over that and did start reading Grayson, I did enjoy it. But yeah. Let's see. You talked about what you were reading right now. What I'm reading right now, of course, is Iron Man. This main run of Iron Man, by uh, oh my gosh, Jerry Duggan, is excellent. Or Gary Duggan, not Jerry. I was thinking of Jerry Conway. That's old. Gary Duggan's Iron Man is great. It's a big tie-in with what's going on with like the fall of X right now with the X-Men. I was reading Uncanny Avengers because they did another run of that, a little mini series that was phenomenal. Um, Avengers,
That might have been what he brought up to me.
the Uncanny Avengers.
It was no the X-Men thing you just said.
Oh yeah, with Fall of X, what's going on with them? And there's a whole thing with the Stark Sentinels, which by the way, my God, one of the coolest designs ever. There's a villain. I'm going to go into it for a second. There's a villain that has taken over Stark Industries and gotten these designs that Howard Stark had left for Tony that Tony never got a hold of. And with that, this villain has created a brand new breed of Sentinels with Iron Man tech, and they look like giant Iron Man colored Sentinels, and they are crazy, like powerful and really entertaining to read as villains.
I
That has been an
went
absolute blast.
I went into Bebop's Pizza recently. Peace.
Hey Scott, Scott listens to
Uh,
our show.
Scott, if you would, please tell Derek what you told me the other day, because I could not remember for the life of me the whole thing. You told me, you asked me if how I felt about something about the X-Men, and I think it's what Derek is talking about now. So please bring up to Derek what you said and remind me because I have the worst memory ever.
But
If
yeah,
you
so
can't tell.
it's all good, buddy. It's all good. The Avengers run right now. I'm also reading that is tying into the timeless arc that they started last year with Kang the Conqueror and all of his machinations that are going sideways because Kang is nothing if not a buffoon that messes up the entire time stream every time that he comes onto a page. Um, that's been a lot of fun. And also on DC wise, I'm behind on it because I'm reading it on DC Infinite. Batman and Superman World's Finest is the best DC book they've put out in a
I
decade.
want to read that too.
It's
I
so good.
that popped up on the app the other day, and I wanted to read
It's
that. So what you're
it
saying
is
is
complete
King the Conqueror is the monarch from Venture Bros,
a little bit, yeah.
who is
Ah,
my favorite character. Dapper girlfriend.
Dr.
I love
Girlfriend.
the monarch.
But yeah, so Batman Superman World's Finest, the best artwork, the my absolute favorite design for Superman ever. That's my Superman from now on. Anytime that I think of Superman, I think of Batman Superman the World's Finest. It is excellent. And it's just a fun comic. It goes back to it's not this giant thing. I mean, they deal with story arcs, they've got things going on, but they feel like a fun escape and just I'm gonna read a book about superheroes being superheroes. You know, this isn't dark and gritty. The world isn't ending. You know, the superheroes aren't fighting each other. There's no weird moral lines. Right is right, wrong is wrong. This is what we're gonna do. And there's a phenomenal bit about how Tim Drake and Supergirl may or may not have gone on a date that went horribly wrong, and they won't talk about it. They're just really snippy with each other. It's amazing. So I definitely recommend that. All right. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here? This is going to be a long episode. This has been a great conversation.
I could have went for longer.
I could do. We can. What you got?
I'll ramble all night if I do that. Nope. No, this is a good stopping point. We'll probably. I want to do this again
Yeah, same.
because
Absolutely.
by the time we do this again, I'll have been caught up on more comics.
Hmm. Yeah, we will. We'll definitely and let us know what. Like I said, we talked about this last week. Let us know if there's something you're reading that you want us to look at and check out and tell you our thoughts. You know, we focus mostly on TV in on here. That's what our category is. But we want to branch out, do some other things as well. You know, we're not limited to that. So I'm really excited about doing these new things that we're working on. Uh, and for us, I guess it's time for an outro. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. If you're on the podcast only, don't forget to rate and review us. Make sure that you check out all of our social media. Check out our merch store. That helps out a lot. Check out my work that I'm doing with Nerd Initiative. That will be linked below. Also, be looking as the convention circuit is coming up. I'm going for sure to be at C2E2 again this year. Ian may be going if I can talk him into going, and we can get him that press badge or content creator badge. And I may or may not be going to the Lexington Comic and Toy Expo as well in March. So we will see if I get that press pass for that. I may be going to that as well. So be on the lookout for that. Share this video with all your friends, please, please, please. After our YouTube channel got taken down, we need to build it back up. This new one. So we would greatly appreciate it. It would be amazing. So with all that said, please read some comics. I don't care if you're reading them digitally or physically. I don't care if you're collecting. I don't care if you're reading a comic book about a little gnome somewhere. It doesn't have to be superheroes. Read a comic. They're amazing. For Ian, I have been Derek. This has been the Paperweight Entertainment Podcast, and we will see you next time.